Hello, and welcome back to another reading of the White Album 2 light novel series. We are currently reading through Volume 1. It is getting very, very close to the show. We are about 3 days away, and so we're doing some last-minute preparations for the concert. Things have been going actually better than expected. Yanagihara's plans have been foiled because Haruki came clean to Setsuna in the last episode, thank goodness. And then Takeya kind of warned her that she also has secrets that she doesn't want people to know. So hopefully that's sorted out. Kazusa is still obsessing over her notebook, and we're not sure what's in it other than it is a surprise for him, who, as you can probably figure, would be Haruki. Then she ended up collapsing because she slept probably 5 hours the last week combined, if that. Let's see how it plays out. So, I thought, hey, Setsuna, maybe I could walk you home? Huh? She stared blankly for a second. What? No, you don't have to go out of your way. It's fine. It's not that far. I know. I've been there before. It's not a significant distance. But Haruki-kun, I know you still need to practice. Setsuna looked flustered as she declined, but I couldn't back down. It could be that she didn't want a guy who wasn't her boyfriend walking her home, but it could allow Setsuna to feel this sense of connection for a bit longer, put her a bit more at ease. And right now, giving her that sense of ease was extremely important. I can't let you walk home by yourself at this hour anyway. Never mind that she already did that on a regular basis. He's just trying to talk himself up and sound cool. Just for today. If I get there late, it just means Touma will be able to sleep that much longer. So you can think of this as being for her, too. It was, I had to admit, a pretty flimsy excuse. But after several buts and I can't, Setsuna finally said, well, all right, if you insist. And nodded. Her cheeks shone faintly red as the night breezes caressed them. Oh, what a cute, innocent flirting they're doing. As pushy as I'd been, when we got to Setsuna's house, she smiled, albeit a bit shyly, and thanked me for going to the trouble. That seemed to have worked well. I was glad to have taken her home. After parting ways with Setsuna, I headed for the station, then realized that this was my 3rd time traveling this path. Of all the days that Haruki could have walked home with Setsuna, it had to be today. The day where Kazusa literally passed out in her own house from exhaustion. And probably isn't doing the best. Circumstances aside, I had taken Setsuna Ogiso home, and she had thanked me. If someone had told me a month ago that this would happen, I never would have believed it. Well, it would be even more difficult to believe where I was headed now, following it. Smiling wryly, I boarded the train, made a stop at home to pack a change of clothes, and returned to the train for Iwazucho. Thank goodness he didn't forget his underwear this time. I stopped at the corner store to get something sweet and a box lunch for my teacher, who, I assumed, would be hungry by now and waiting for me. Walked the road I now knew so well to Touma's house and... Something started to feel off around the time that I reached the gate. I was sure Touma must be here, but the windows were completely dark. She didn't pick up the intercom either. Maybe she had gone out somewhere. Maybe she was just sleeping extremely deeply. Either way, I couldn't get in. I thought. I turned the front doorknob just in case, and found that it wasn't locked. Well, that's a little bit careless, considering she is in a house with probably tens of thousands of dollars of equipment, if not more. Maybe she had left it unlocked for me, but then she probably would have turned the lights on. Maybe she had just forgotten to lock it and she was still asleep. Irresponsible either way. Hello? Touma? I called to her from the dark entryway, but there was no answer. I switched on the fluorescent lights, announced that I was coming in, and headed down the hall. The living room, too, was pitch dark. I turned on the lights and set the corner store bag on the table. I started to think that she might be asleep in her own room, but then I remembered that notebook from before. She could have been shut up down in the basement this whole time, doing something. It's possible. Granted, this was what she originally wanted to do. She's just physically incapable of doing it right now. Shaking my head, I made my way to the stairs to the basement, and then I saw someone collapsed before the stairs. Huh? There was the explanation for the weirdness I had felt. Oh man, poor Kazusa. Take care, all right? Thank you. With the departure of the doctor who had come to visit, the spacious living room fell completely silent once again. There, on a futon laid out in roughly the center of the room, lay Touma, pain in her face. About an hour before, I had found Touma collapsed in front of the stairs, panicked, and taken her to lie down on the living room sofa. Oh, he probably had to pick her up then. That's so cute. After turning the air conditioner on full blast and calling the doctor, I thought it might be better to keep her somewhere closer to water, rather than carry her to her room. So I brought a futon from the guest room, lay Touma down on it, gave her an ice pillow from the freezer, and had her drink some water from a small teapot in place of a pitcher. I wiped her sweat away, dithered over whether or not I should try to change her into other clothes, but wait, was this really the time to worry about that? Then the intercom rang. And so this is the sad sight that Haruki stumbled upon. It was Touma lying at the bottom of the stairs. This poor girl. You could see her notebook there as well. She was really, really looking forward to that. Poor Touma. The art is nice, but poor Touma. God, I was such an idiot. I had run it through my head over and over. I knew how hard Touma was pushing herself. I had been with her every day. Surely I should have noticed. But really, my worry was all talk. In my head, I was clinging to this image of Touma as something superhuman. So even if I'd been a little concerned, I hadn't intervened any further. Some part of my heart had chosen to make light of the situation. Oh, she's probably fine. And I had forced that sense onto Touma. Otherwise, I should have been able to come back earlier today. A complete idiot. I should have known better than anyone who was working the hardest. I feel like this is true of anyone who's really good at something. People tend to kind of shrug it off and say oh, it's not that big a deal. Oh, you're already really good at it. It's not that hard for you. Not realizing that they're still putting in a ton of work. It's just that their level is high and they don't let it show how hard they're working. Poor Touma. I'm sorry, Touma. I had lost count by now of how many times I had said this to her fitfully sleeping face. Her skin, normally as white as a fine porcelain doll, had taken on a clear reddish tinge, showing, with a bit of irony, that Touma was not indeed a superhuman, or a robot, but a human like any of the rest of us. After wiping the sweat from her face and watching her, that's a big difference, for a while, I replaced her ice pillow and checked her temperature. She was still over 38 degrees Celsius. That is well into the fever area. She is definitely running a fever. Still, her breath as she slept had calmed down a little compared to the start. Maybe the injection the doctor gave her had helped. Okay, so if a doctor's giving you an injection, you know it's pretty bad off. Sorry, I'm so stupid, I murmured to her in her slumber. You knew that, though. You're always telling me so. Alone in the quiet living room, I spoke to my neighbor, who had no words to offer in return. But you're pretty stupid yourself. Don't say that to someone who's passed out with a fever. I shifted my gaze to the table, to that which was sitting on it. Driving yourself this far for something like that? It's not like you. I had found it lying on the ground next to Touma. She had barely managed to scrape her way up the stairs, but she must have kept her grip on it until the moment she passed out. Really, just too stupid for your own good. It was the notebook Touma had been rooted to for this whole week. Yeah, it's the notebook that she had actually panicked over when the teacher touched it. So it's a pretty big deal because Touma usually doesn't lose her head like that. I approached the table, picked it up, and found myself awash in complicated emotions. Because I knew what was written in this notebook. What she was running herself ragged for, fraying to pieces, flying into a rage just because someone had dared to confiscate it. I knew what she had been so frantically glued to for the past few days. Touma, you're an idiot. But I'm sorry. I really am. This is my fault, and I'm sorry. And thank you for doing this for someone like me. Oh, Haruki, these girls are too good for you. So, moving on to Kazusa's piece. Pain. There was no time to pause. Huh? Kazusa. Who? Kazusa. Try to understand. I'm giving you this card. Buy whatever you need. Shibata-san will still be coming by to take care of everything around the house, so you don't need to worry about that. No. Again? Why? You can continue your lessons with Sakurai-sensei. Or if you'd rather change, you can look for another teacher you'd prefer. Make sure whoever you find is someone you want teaching you. And don't worry about high school either. I've requested that they put together a special set of exams for you. You should be receiving that schedule soon. Stop. All right. It may be a little while before we see each other again, but be well. Stop. I don't want to hear this. You have to understand, Kazusa. Taking you along with me right now would be... Stop. Pointless. She sat bolt upright, finally understanding that it had been a dream. What a horrid awakening. Poor Kazusa. You know how fever dreams are always pretty weird. I feel like it digs at the deepest parts of our subconscious and then twists it. And so for Kazusa to be having nightmares like this, it's really sad. Kazusa shook her head hard in an attempt to chase the dream from her mind. But a throbbing pain shot through her, and she instinctively pressed her hands to her head. What the hell? Was this still part of the nightmare? She looked around the room, realizing that it wasn't her own bedroom. She seemed to have been sleeping on a futon in the middle of the living room, but she couldn't remember lying down to sleep here. Her body was burning up too. Completely at a loss, she started to stand up. I had a feeling there wouldn't be any cooking ingredients around here. Oh, there's a clay pot. Okay. Someone's voice had reached her ears. Isn't that nice to wake up from a fever, one, and from a nightmare, two, and then to hear someone's voice in your house, especially for Kazusa, who'd been living alone for so long? This must be a nice comfort. Ready-made curry, a few cans of food. Well, there's the box lunch that I brought here with me at least. And that voice, coming from the direction of the kitchen was Kitara. Oh, that's good at least. I'm so glad. So, moving on to Haruki's piece. Just a standard block's lunch. 2 of them, I mean. Okay, you can simmer the rice in the clay pot then. I think that should give you something like rice porridge. All right, will do. It was after 10 p.m. I stood in the kitchen of the Touma house talking to Setsuna on the phone. I feel like it would be better if you got something ready-made from the corner store, though. You haven't done much cooking, right? Got him. That's kind of an insult. Yeah. Then, I'm sure your home cooking would be great on its own, seriously, but for today, maybe you should buy... I know. I don't want to leave, though. I'm afraid of taking my eyes off her. She still hasn't woken up. Yes, Touma was still asleep. Not really. She's kind of awake. Kind of deliriously awake, I would say. I wanted to have some dinner ready for her when she awoke, so I gave Setsuna a call. Oh, okay. Listen, Haruki-kun, I'll come over there. I can bring some ingredients. It won't take long if I grab a taxi. No, seriously, you don't have to. When I first told Setsuna that Touma was laid up, she had declared without hesitation that she would be right over. But I declined her offer. Why? I'm pretty sure I'm more qualified as a nurse than you are, Haruki-kun. Still, you can't come here, Setsuna. Why not? Are you locking me out of the loop again? No, not in the least. Touma's health is enormously important, but your throat? That's also important to us. It's true. If a singer gets sick, that's kind of the end of the show because you can't force your voice to be good. You know, you could kind of truck through and play the guitar if you're sick, but you can't make your voice sound better if you're sick. That's a tough one. Yes, that was the thing we had to focus on protecting the most, for the Light Music Club's sake. I'm on guitar, Touma's on keyboards. Even if we had a little bit of a fever, we would probably be able to play somehow. In an extreme case, we could be replaced. We do technically have Takeya, and that means we could program the whole thing if we absolutely had to. But wouldn't that be funny? Just program the whole song and then don't play. Just play the music. It'd play the CD. But you're the only one with your voice, Setsuna. Your voice was what convinced me not to give up on doing the show. I can't imagine any other singer standing on that stage with us. Haruki-kun. She was almost whispering on the other end. Afraid that my wording might come off as pompous, I continued. And also, the whole school apparently knows now that Setsuna Ogiso is going to be singing with the Light Music Club at the school festival. If we brought in a substitute now, people would riot. I don't know about that. They would. Everyone in our class has made that clear to me. So, like I said, let me handle things here. Okay. I can at least help you with making that rice porridge then. Yes, please do. Everything was where it ought to be. This was the best way for the Light Music Club, and I was more than a bit responsible for what happened here. So, first you need to put the water in the pot, about 3 cups. Light the stove and add the rice once the water is boiling. It would actually taste better if you used soup stock. Is there any dried bonito around or anything? Nope. Just the ready-made curry I mentioned, and canned grilled chicken and mackerel and stuff. Oh, there's an expensive-looking package. Instant udon? It looks kind of fancy. No MSG. Hasn't passed its best-by date yet. There's kind of a lot of it. Maybe I'll have this... Wait, I've got that lunchbox. Udon? Does it come with broth? Yeah, there's liquid broth with it. You can use that instead of soup stock then. All of it might be too much, so... As this exchange continued, something like rice porridge manifested itself. That's a good thing about Japanese home cooking, is there are a lot of meals you can make kind of with whatever's in the fridge. Like curry, you can throw some canned whatever in there, vegetables, meats, doesn't matter, put it in the curry. If you want to make some kind of soup and eat it with udon or rice, you could pretty much use whatever you have in the cabinet as long as you have some sort of soup stock. So for Haruki's case, he's pretty lucky in that sense. Thanks, Setsuna. You've been a big help. You can put it in the fridge if you need to and just heat it up when Touma-san wakes up. Also, if you have any other problems, you can call me, even if it's the middle of the night. Lucky Touma-san. I wish I could try your homemade rice porridge too. I wouldn't call it homemade. You were the one who told me the recipe. You could make your own easily, right? If it's that easy to make, you should make some for me next time. I'm holding you to it. Why? I mean, sure, but it would be faster if you made it. Is he so dense that he can't see why she would ask him to cook for her? He really doesn't get it. Nope, you're making it. I'll be looking forward to it. It's not really anything worth looking forward to. Well, okay, and thanks again. In spite of Setsuna's odd fixation, I thanked her and hung up. And then I noticed something. Huh? Touma was trying to sit up. She must have come around. Touma! Thank goodness. Are you okay? I just finished making some rice porridge. Do you think you can eat? Touma? Touma had risen, and she threw a sharp glare at me. Get out. What? Why was she mad? What had I done? Christ, giving a sick person this garbage to eat. So clearly he didn't actually get kicked out of the house. In spite of her grumbling, Touma continued to sip at her rice porridge. She was still pale, but it was good to see that she had an appetite. Yes, you're sick, so I need you to tolerate it for now. I mean, if it's that gross, I can toss it. No one told you to frickin' do that. Friggin'. That's a funny word for her to use. She kept grumbling. Fine, she would deal with this garbage for the sake of nourishing herself, though she still couldn't believe she was eating something I'd made, etc. At least she had enough energy to insult me. Where are you finding the time to cook anyway? What about practicing your solo? Have you got it perfect already? No, not yet. Then get back at it. Downstairs. No, go home. Stick around here and you'll catch my cold. No way. I'm not stupid enough to leave you alone here while you're in this state. Oh, he does really care. And she's trying to act like she doesn't want him there, but deep down, I know she's relieved to have him there. If you end up with a cold and can't play after all this time you've spent practicing here, that would be even more stupid, she muttered, looking away. Well, instrumentalists can be replaced. It could be a one-man show with Setsuna singing and everything else through synths. But is that what you rebuilt the Light Music Club for? If you don't get to play on stage, what's the point? Had she heard me on the phone earlier? Go home. Go home, take some cold medicine, warm up your room, practice, and play the show with Ogiso. Touma. That would be so sad because she was there for the ride. She is the one that taught him to play. She's the one that got excited for something. And to have her miss it at this point is devastating. She looked far smaller and weaker than usual, maybe because of the fever. Yes, what she was saying was right. From the moment I resolved myself to stand on that stage, I had dreamed only of making the show a success and put everything into it. But I'm not leaving. Kitahara, seriously, you can't risk all the work you've done. I could say the same for you. Yes, I've worked hard, but what happens to the work you've done? And it's my fault this happened anyway. What? It's my fault I caught a cold. I didn't catch it teaching you guitar. Don't flatter yourself. Her little insults are so cute, especially now that she's sick and basically incapacitated at this point. No. If you'd been helping me out with my practicing, you shouldn't have been at any risk of working yourself into collapse, but you drove yourself to your breaking point because of this, right? I set the notebook on the table. Ooh, don't do that. Don't look into people's notebooks. I mean, I knew he already did, but don't tell them that you looked in it. What? You decided you could look in it? You creep? Sorry, but you made your own decision too. The club chief gave me something to laugh at, that's all. Yes, she probably had laughed at it. It was embarrassing, it was ridiculous, but Touma hadn't let it end there. She had taken this trivial bit of selfishness of mine and done everything she could to make it something real. Sacrificing her stamina, her sleep, everything. I'm sorry, Touma. Really? I'm sorry. I just told you not to flatter yourself. All I did was add something to our performance. It's nothing to do with you. It's everything to do with him. She specifically thought to herself how much she wanted to surprise him with this. It's really sad it had to come out in this way, too, because it would have been amazing if she had just surprised him with it, but I guess now here's a surefire way to know he received it. Then I'll just say what I feel like saying. That shouldn't be a problem, right? I'm sorry, Touma, and thank you. I feel bad for making you push yourself too far, but I appreciate it. Kitahara. Kazusa Touma, my neighbor in class, my neighbor in the next music room. She had made this much effort she never put into anything, all for me. After everything you've done for me, how could I just leave you here alone? It's time for me to do something for you now. Let me do that much, at least. Maybe it wouldn't be enough to pay her back. Please, let me stay here. Uh-huh. After a few moments of silence, Touma sighed. Fine. Whatever. Do what you want. Talking is just making this taste bad. I will do what I want. Thank you. I laughed, tempted to say something stupid like, you mean it didn't already taste bad? But I didn't, of course. Not of course. Haruki says stupid stuff all the time. I washed the dishes Touma had used and brought her medicine. What's with this stuff? Huh? Oh, I had a doctor come to see you. She gave you a shot, actually. A shot? Touma shuddered. I'm glad I was asleep. What, did she not like needles? This wasn't a side I had expected to see. So, what did she say my deal is? Not the flu, she said. I've dithered a little, but decided there was no point in hiding it. But the fever might stick around for 2 or 3 days. Oh. Huh. Touma looked down. 3 days from now was Saturday, the day of the show. Well, I'm done eating, so start practicing. But she didn't touch on that. I will. Once you've gotten changed and gone to bed. Don't talk to me like a kid. Hang on. Is this what I was wearing this morning? Oh, I actually... Kitara, don't tell me you... Touma flung her arms across her chest and glared at me, her reddening face turning even redder. Oh, she's so embarrassed and so cute. No, I didn't do it. The doctor did. The doctor, who was a woman. She had taken the trouble to change Touma's clothes in addition to treating her, probably able to tell that I was freaking out over doing it myself. I really got lucky there. So, since there were some clothes sitting in front of the changing room, I brought those. You brought my underwear too? It was an emergency situation. What else was I supposed to do? Don't worry, I just carried the whole stack of clothes. I didn't touch them. And I was looking away too. I didn't see anything. Ugh, how much of a freak can you be? She had seemed angry, but then she seemed to have forgiven me after taking the circumstances into account. I'm going to get changed then, and no peeking. I know. My response was light enough, but as I watched her walk away, unsteady on her feet, my chest grew heavy. In this state, there was no way she would make it to tomorrow's rehearsal. And then the show on Saturday? She's really trying her best, though, to pull through. She's trying to act like she's not inhibited right now, but she definitely is. No matter what Touma said, I intended to stay by her until she fell asleep, at the very least. After that, I would practice, even harder, even more earnestly than I already had been, for the sake of my neighbor, who had worked herself to pieces for me, so that it wouldn't matter how things fell out. Whatever result might be waiting, I wanted to be able to tell her, with my head held high, how hard I had worked. With that in mind, I looked out the window. The darkness was cold, wordless, standing in silence. Thursday was pressing in. So we're in a bit of an unfortunate situation, especially considering how close the show is. But the show must go on. We'll see how we can make it happen. So, with that, we will stop here for today's episode. Thank you so much for being here with me on this reading of the White Album 2 light novel readings, and I'll be back to you with additional content shortly. So until then, I hope you take care. See you!